We are back with Donald Trump, and joining us, his wife Melania, sons Donald Jr., his daughter Kai has just jumped on the stage as well. She's 8 years old. Eric is with us, daughters Tiffany and Ivanka. Welcome. It's great to have the whole family together like this. Thanks so much. Ivanka, I got to start off with you. Congratulations on your baby. How's everything going?
Thank you. Everything's going incredibly well. So Theodore is 2 weeks old as of Sunday.
Are you sleeping through the night? Is he sleeping?
No. Not even close. Not even close. But it's a blessing. So we're very happy.
Well, congratulations. That's the most important thing. I'm just curious, when your dad, your husband, I mean, how did the conversation come up? Was there a family meeting like on the Brady Bunch, or I mean, how did he call each of you individually and say, you know, I'm going to do this time? And what did you think?
Well, I think it's such a personal decision that ultimately it was one he had to arrive to on his own. And obviously, as we've all seen over the last several months, it's a vicious industry, politics, much more so than real estate or anything we've ever experienced. So, but we were just incredibly excited for him. I mean, we know what he's capable of. We've stood by his side for the last decade in my case, a little bit longer in Don's case, and watched him do these deals at the Trump organization. And we know what he could bring to the country, so we're just happy to support him.
He's flirted with it before. Did you think, okay, this time it's actually going to happen?
I think this time we knew it. I mean, you sensed the frustration in 2008. You sensed the frustration even more so in 2012. But I think we were young. I mean, he has a company. He actually employs tens of thousands of people whose livelihoods and whose families' well-being depend on the success of that company. So in 2008, I was 29. I'm the oldest. You know, he wasn't just going to say, okay, congratulations, here's $1 billion company, leave it with us, and, you know, hope that those people who've been so loyal to him for so many years are going to be okay. I think now we've been in the company much longer. We have these decades of experience that he can walk away and know that those people who've been so good to him for all that time, you know, are still going to be taken care of, and he can do what he wants to do for the country.
Melania, for you, were you nervous for him? Were you instantly like, yeah, let's do this?
Well, I was not nervous for him, but he was thinking about it, and I gave him a support. And I said to him, you know, you cannot just talk, you need to go and run, and people will take it serious. And if you run, you will win. And I see how people react to him before he announced it.
Tiffany, Eric, when you saw him coming down the escalator with Melania, I mean, did you have any idea that it would go on this long, that it would become what it has?
Listen, it's an amazing success story if you look at it, right? I mean, he's been in politics 9 months, and he's winning the Republican Party for president of the United States. I mean, it's really an incredible story. But, you know, to your specific question, I actually remember when you said, you know, listen, kids, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hop into the race. I want to self-fund. I want to do it for the country. I mean, this is about the country. This country has given me everything. You know, I'm going to give back. And it was actually a really powerful moment. I'll never forget that moment in the office together, you know, the four of us. And it was a special moment for us.
Tiffany, for you, what did you think?
Well, whenever my father puts his heart and soul into something, he goes full force. And when he finally decided to, you know, run for president, I think all of us knew, you know what, here we go. Like, he really just worked so hard, and we knew it would be a success. And I had no doubt in my mind that he would get as far as he has.
Ivanka, Eric, it's no surprise. I got to ask you, there was news just this week that both of you were not registered to vote in the primary. What happened?
Well, I'm an independent, and I've always voted based on the candidate as opposed to based on the party. And it was actually a very interesting experience. So we're not a family of politicians. We haven't been in politics very long. New York has one of the most onerous rules in terms of registration, and it required us to register a long time ago, almost close to a year ago. And we didn't do that. We found out about it sort of after the fact. But it was actually why I started making a series of videos to educate people in each of the individual states, because every state is different. Most states you can register as late as the day of the actual
When did you realize
primary.
you weren't going to be able to vote in the...
Around a week later.
Is that right?
Yeah, so...
Eric, how about for you?
Yeah, no, it was the same thing. I mean, we both fell into that same boat, and it was our first kind of foray into politics. We didn't realize how the whole system worked, and it was amazing. We actually made it a very big part of the campaign, and there's no one that's been more visible on the campaign than the two of us, but we made it a very big part to get that message out. You know, get out, register, go out, vote. Here's how you do it, and, you know, we gave them all the tools and everything to actually go out and figure out that process. And so it actually was a great educational process for us, and one that probably, you know, help the campaign a lot.
And you're seeing the turnout, by the way. You're seeing so many, you know, people who are registering on the time. You see the people flipping sides to be able to vote for my father. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And if
Do you consider yourself
really cognizant
Republican?
of getting those, yeah, I've been always.
Eric?
Very much so.
I'm registered in Pennsylvania as a Republican.
Okay. And Ivanka, you're still an independent?
I'm an independent.
Right. Cool. What was your reaction when you found out that they weren't going to be able to vote for you in the primary?
Well, I knew that Ivanka was independent, and I was fine with it, and I understand why she is. I mean, you know, it's hard to be thrilled with what's going on in politics, okay? Either party, if you look at what's going on. And she was an independent. She's going to switch over to be Republican, I guess, at some point, and perhaps she wants to see what's going on. But I have a feeling she'll be voting in November for me. I have a really strong...
Well, that's no question.
That's no question.
And
But
Eric
there
is
I can
actually
vote as an
switching over.
independent. So.
I wanted you to meet some of the voters here. This is Nicole Hart. She is a technical designer from here in Manhattan. She says she's leaning towards supporting you, Mr. Trump, but she's got a question for Melania.
Hi, Melania.
Hello.
Do you feel that you and Mr. Trump have raised Barron differently than he did his older children?
Well, it's a different time and different generation. And especially now, the time is different. He's not home much. He's working hard. He's on the road all the time. And I'm at home being a parent. And we are very happy when we have him home because we miss him. And yes, it's a little bit different, but kind of still the same. You know, he loves to work. He loves the country. And we see that, you know, he will do something amazing if people elect him to be a president.
Mr. Trump, do you think you're a different dad to your youngest, to Barron, than you were to your older kids?
Well, I think I appreciate it more. You know, it's very interesting with my with all of the children. I've always been, I think, a very good father. It was always very important to me. In fact, a lot of people say, my children have done a good job, and they better keep doing a good job. But they come to me, friends of mine, very successful people, and their children have problems with drugs and problems with alcohol and problems with a lot of things. And they say, could you speak to my son? Could you speak to my daughter? I'm always very honored to do that. And I have so many friends that have asked me to do it. But I think now, as I have gotten older, I think maybe I appreciate the fact more, whereas before I was charging forward. We're still charging forward, but perhaps we appreciate life a little bit more.
This is Peggy Padovano. She works in real estate. She says her dad actually worked for your father, Fred. She says she's voting for you next Tuesday, and she's got a question for Eric.
Right.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi, Peggy. How are you?
My question is, rather, it's a statement. When I was younger, I formed a very special bond with my dad through football. We used to spend countless hours together watching games. And I wanted to know, do you have a special bond with your dad, just the two of you?
Yeah. Well, I have many special bonds with my father. You know, we love work, right? It's something that really brings us together. We love building. The two of us just love machinery. We love building. We love concrete. We love jobs. And, you know, we'll sit on the phone at 6 o'clock in the morning and we'll talk about our favorite jobs. And, you know, I think that brings a lot of fun to us and a lot to the relationship. We also love golf. You know, we go out, we play golf together, and it's just something that we really enjoy. So, listen, there's a lot of things. He's got a great sense of humor. He's been the greatest father in the world. He's an amazing deal maker. You know, he's just always had so much love for us and this whole family. He's an amazing guy, one of my best friends in the entire world, maybe my best friend in the entire world. He's an amazing man, but there's really a lot that brings us together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Peggy was saying that she worked for your dad. What was your relationship like with your dad?
It was great, and it really became much better when I hit about 20, when I graduated from the Wharton School of Finance, and I started working. But I worked with him during summers, but it was a great relationship. But
did you always know you were going to go into this business?
no, I wanted to be a baseball player. I wanted to make movies. I had a lot of different ambitions as I was growing up. But ultimately, I decided I'd work for my father over the summers. I was in Cincinnati, Ohio. I worked there and different places. And I loved doing it. But ultimately, when I got out of school, I said, you know, this is the right thing to do. And we were in Brooklyn. We had an office in Brooklyn. And we had buildings in Brooklyn and Queens. And I always wanted to go into Manhattan. I used to look across the river and see those big buildings, and it was something that always intrigued me. But I had a great relationship with my father, but probably even better when I worked with him.
This is Lillian Ortiz over here. She's an attorney from Suffolk County, New York. She says she's planning on voting for you, but she's got a question for Tiffany. Lillian?
Tiffany, good evening to you all. What do you most admire about your dad?
I think I've grown up seeing him as such a mentor. His hard work ethic is truly inspiring. Whenever I'm, at school studying these long hours, I see him on TV without any sleep and making these speeches, and it just makes me want to continue to work harder and prove myself and, keep on pushing to my limit.
Thank you.
Tiffany, your mom revealed just recently that you had your first job interview. I don't know that you wanted her to reveal that, but how did it go?
I think pretty well. You know,
Were you nervous?
I think everyone's nervous,
Yeah.
graduating college, you know, finding your first job. I think I can understand and resonate with a lot of other college graduates at this time. You know, this is, you know, the first time you're in the world on your own. So luckily I have a supportive family. Jared, Ivanka's husband, and Ivanka, and my father and my mother have been so supportive, and you know, we'll see what happens.
What's it been like for you watching this process, watching your dad out in the political arena?
It's been amazing. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, truly, and to be able to be, you know, a daughter of someone that's running for the president election, it's just, no one really has that opportunity. It's an education in and of itself.
Yeah. I want you to meet Arlene Tang. She's over here. She's a physician. She says she's undecided. She's got a question for you, Mr. Trump. Arlene?
Good evening, Mr. Trump. I was wondering, do you talk to your wife and children the same way that you speak at the GOP debates?
The same way.
Occasionally.
I think I'm much nicer to them. I will say, you know, you talk about the debates. I never knew about debating. My whole life has been sort of a debate, but the politicians, they debate every night, and I didn't know how that was really going to work out. And the debates, I've loved the debates. I've really had fun with them. I think I've done well with them. I guess I wouldn't be. I've been on the center stage every single debate, and I've really enjoyed it. But I will tell you, I speak to my wife and children much, much differently. And but it has been an interesting process. They're always saying, "Be nicer on the debates." I said, "Wait a minute. They're coming at me from all these different angles. Well, how can I be nice?" But Melania, in particular, would say, "Be nicer in the debates." I said, I can't do that. I have to win first, but we'll be nice. But we've had a lot of fun.
What do you say to him? Because I think I saw, Mr. Trump, you saying on the campaign trail that both Melania and also Ivanka were telling you to be more presidential. What do you want? What would you like him? How would you like him to be different?
Just to use nice language.
Better
sometimes.
language.
Better language.
I know you
not
were,
all the time.
You were upset when
sometimes I agree with it.
somebody yelled out something at one of his rallies.
Correct,
I know
and he repeated.
You were upset with that.
Yes, and I was thinking, just don't repeat it, because next day the press, all what they will talk, it's about the word, an appropriate word, and that was correct. So,
Ivanka, what have you said to him about being presidential?
Well, I think one of the interesting things about this process is it's very easy to have an opinion on things, but when you're not in the arena, it's you know, it's a different ballgame. So I've definitely said things of that kind to him, but I also then watch these debates, and it's a hard thing to observe, because I see them, it's like a cage match. You know, they're jumping on him and they're hitting him from the left, hitting him from the right. Everyone's attacking him because he's been the front runner for so long. He's the man to take down. So while I do sometimes tell him to withhold some of that sort of fire, I also understand it, and I think it's instinct, and I think it's also speaks to his passion. And I think that's ultimately what we need. I mean, you have to have tremendous stamina to get through this process. You have to have a fire and a passion. I don't think you can be particularly laid back and make it through this whole experience from what I've observed, especially when you're competing against many very qualified people who are quite upset by the fact that you've long passed them.
You've still talked about kind of changing your tone from time to time, maybe even soon. Do you think that's actually going to happen? Because a lot of people are saying, look, you've been talking about that for a while. Sure. Maybe he's not actually capable of changing.
Oh, I'm very capable of doing it. It's easy to do it. I mean, it's easier to do it than the way I behave right now. But
so why not?
Because I have two more people I have to take out. And when I take them out, I will be so presidential you won't believe it. And then, of course, I'll start on Hillary, and then I'll be a little bit less presidential. But assuming I win, I will be the country will be very proud of me, and we will make America great again. You know, my whole thing is make America great again.
I haven't heard that.
It's so important to me. I know that. But it's just so important to me, because we have such potential, and we're not using our potential, and we're being scoffed at and laughed at by the world, whether it's trade, whether it's paying for other countries' military and not being properly reimbursed. It's so sad what's happening to our country, and that's why we have $19 trillion in debt. It's going up to $21 trillion in debt very quickly because of the horrible budget deal that was just made. So I'll be very presidential at the right time.
This is Alan Hedrick. He's a real estate agent who says he's leaning towards supporting you. He's got a question for Ivanka. Alan?
Hi, Ivanka.
Hi.
You and Chelsea Clinton are personal friends. has the campaign put a strain on your friendship? And with both you and Chelsea working on your prospective parents' campaigns, is there a common ground where you guys can kind of find an issue to agree on? And do you think you will still be friends with her after this election cycle?
Well, look, we're children and we love our parents. So that's the great equalizer and that's the great common ground. So I'm incredibly proud of my father. I'm amazed and truly in awe of what he's accomplished and what he's accomplished throughout the course of his life up until this point. But, you know, the last 10 months have really been a whole different level. So I think that she would probably say the same about her mother. So she's probably very proud of her mother, and we certainly would share that, I would think.
This is Mitchell Bernstein. He's an IT director from Brookhaven, New York. He says he's leaning towards supporting you. He's got a question for all of the women on the stage. Mitchell?
Yes. You're probably aware that the media's gone after your father on several occasions regarding women in general. And I was wondering how you felt about how the media's treated him, how he's presented himself, and what you can do in general to improve the relationship and to provide information about how your relationship with your father is in regards to women in general.
Well, I think the facts speak for themselves. I have witnessed these incredible female role models that he's employed in the highest executive positions at the Trump Organization my entire life. In an industry that has been dominated by men, is still dominated by men, but certainly was when he was starting out in his career and he was employing some of these women and raising them through the ranks. So, you know, for me, I think the way he raised me, the way he raised Tiffany, it's a testament to the fact that he believes and inspiring women, empowering women. He always taught me that there wasn't anything that I couldn't do if I set my mind to it, if I had deep passion, if I really unearthed what it is that I wanted to do with my life and then worked very hard to achieve it. And I don't think that's the message a father would relay to a daughter who he didn't believe had the potential to accomplish exactly what her brothers could. So, you know, for me, it's his actions speak louder than the words of many politicians who talk about gender equality, but it's not evidenced in their daily employment practices. So I think both at the Trump Organization and also in a more personal capacity, the type of father he was to a daughter, to daughters, I think evidences how he feels about our gender in general.
Tiffany?
Yeah, I think my father, since I've been a little girl, has always just inspired me and had so much faith in me to just be the best person I can be, the best woman I can be. And, you know, every time I speak to him on the phone, whether it be at school or when I'm with him in his office or, you know, in Palm Beach, it's just he wants us to do the best, and he has the utmost faith that we can accomplish whatever we set our minds to, just as well as men, if not better. And we're such strong, hard workers. I mean, Ivanka, of course, Melania. I just sort of truly feel that my father is the best father, the best husband that he could be, truly.
Melania, do you?
He treats everyone equally. So if you're a woman and they attack him, he will attack back, no matter who you are. We are all human, and he treats them equal as men. So I think that's very important. He doesn't make the difference. And he encouraged everybody, you're a man or a woman.
Do you monitor your son's social media? It's obviously a question that a lot of parents are concerned about, given, you know, all the things that go on. So do you watch your son's social media presence?
He has an iPhone. He's not on social media yet.
Okay.
He's 10 years old. I think it's too early to be on social media. He's talking about Instagram, and so I will go into it when I will think it's a right age.
It's a hard decision to make.
It's a very hard decision to make, and I grew up without social media, and it was in one way better because I see a lot of bullying is going on, and we need to protect our children. We need to watch over them.
Yeah, it seems like bullying just used to be in schools, but now because of social media, it's 24 hours a day. It reaches into the home as well.
And you don't know. You need to really check on your children and to talk with them and really have conversation with them. But it's very important to be a close parent and kind of on top of them, but still let them be who they are.
I got to ask you guys, do you monitor your dad's social media?
Possible task. I have no idea what you're talking about, Ed.
Are there some days you wake up and you look at Twitter and you think, really?
It kind of makes him the person he is, honestly. It's so great to not see the sound bites, the traditional politician sound bites that you read too often. I mean, he's so authentic. He writes the tweets himself. He doesn't have a team of hundreds and hundreds of people behind him, and I think that's actually what makes him the great candidate that he is.
And more importantly, they're not
retweets.
vetted.
The retweets get
the retweets that get you in trouble.
The tweets are fine. The retweets sometimes get a little bit shaky.
And they're not scrubbed through like a database. I mean, that's the problem I see is so much of politics. Is, they're running focus groups on how do we word this so that we tell everyone what they want to hear, but then when it comes time to actually deliver, they do whatever the special interests are telling them to do. I mean, his is really genuine. And I think, it's that fight, it's that spirit that the American people see that is lacking in today's politician, where they just go with the wind and leave.
You don't have to retweet people. You can just let it stand.
It's interesting. I started off a number of years ago, and I now see that over the weekend I picked up like almost 100,000 people. And I have 7.6 million people there. I have almost 7.5 million people on Facebook. I have 1.5 million on Instagram. I have millions, and it's really an asset. I really enjoy doing it, but it's really an asset. You see what's going on, and there is some genius there. I mean, you will read some of the stuff. There is genius there. You have to find the right genius. But it is a powerful thing. I mean,
as president, though,
no, I wouldn't be doing it.
You wouldn't,
or I would do it very little. I would. It's different. But right now, if I'm fighting one of my opponents, I can tweet out things or my feelings. And I had it in CNN. I mean, there was one instance where I was at a town hall and somebody got up and made a pretty negative statement about the president. You probably remember, very negative. They never found out who this guy was. I don't know, was he a setup or what? I think you know what I'm talking about. And he made a pretty negative statement about the president, and they said I didn't defend him, and it was a big deal. It was going on. And I remember I tweeted one line and then another line, and I put it out. And it broke into CNN. They broke into this major broadcast. Donald Trump, breaking news. It was like, I'm sitting there. I just did this. And it totally solved the problem. I mean, it was good. So it doesn't all work badly, but it is a modern method of communication. And, when I have 16 or 17 million people, when you add it up, it gives me a big advantage over people.
All your own tweets? And when somebody's retweeted from your account, you've retweeted
I would say yes, other than if we release some information. I have some people, Dan, and some other people that will do it. But
do you actually sit there type, or do you say something and somebody else types?
During the day, I'm in the office. I just shout it out to one of the young ladies who are tremendous. I have a tremendous office staff, and Meredith and some of the people that work for me, and I'll just shout it out and they'll do it. But during the evenings after 7 o'clock or so, I will always do it by myself.
Melania, do you ever want to say to him, put the mobile device down, that it's 2 a.m. and you're still tweeting?
If he would only listen. I did many times. And I just say, okay, do whatever you want. He's an adult. Right. He knows the consequences. And
let's meet more voters. This is Andrew Mesoraca. He's a small business owner who says he's leaning toward voting for you, Mr. Trump. He's got a question for Donald Jr. Andrew?
Hi, you definitely got my vote.
Oh, good. Thank you. That was good. That's good. Thank you.
I admire how you guys, being in the public eye, have remained well-grounded and became so successful. Compliment your father on that and your mom, obviously. And my question is, when your parents were getting divorced, how did your father help you get through that?
Well, listen, I don't think it was an easy time. It was, obviously a difficult time to go through for any young kid. I was 12 years old, so you're at that stage in life where you think you're a man, but you're not quite. So, it was certainly a difficult thing. But I think throughout our lives, he's always been there. It's usually been on his terms. It wasn't a typical, let's go play catch in the backyard sort of father-son relationship. But we always went to job sites with him. We'd be in, his office playing with trucks as a 6-year-old while he's negotiating deals with presidents of major companies. And so he always made himself available. I remember calling from school and from boarding school and from getting home from school when we were younger, and he'd pick up the phone and say, hey, Jack Welch is in the office. Say hi, Don. And I'm sitting, he would always take it. So he was always so available. And I think because we were always present and because we always were, though on his terms at job sites, it really instilled a work ethic and a value for the business that we're in that it's what we grew up in. It's what we understood. So when it came time to start running the business and go in there, it was a very natural progression. So I always joke that, I've been working with the company for 38 years because he set that up. And it was that work ethic and that foundation that he implanted that allows us to probably do what it is that we do today. So it's really all him.
And Eric, I saw an interview you gave, I can't remember if it was a Prince interview or not, where you said the divorce actually brought you closer to your siblings.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, Don's my best friend. Ivanka's my best friend. We're inseparable with Tiffany. I mean, we have an amazing relationship. This isn't contrived. I mean, we work together every day. We have offices right next to each other. we also vacation together. You know, Kai, I mean, she comes and she spends a weekend at my house. I mean, we watch Frozen together, right, Kai?
She insisted on sitting on my lap because she got the shy gene, obviously.
Yes, apparently.
But, you know, we have a great time as a family. And, you know, I'd say the one thing that my father and mother did a great job at was actually protecting us from the media, really protecting us from the media during those times. And we grew up, and as we started getting a little bit of that iron shield, we became more visible. And now you see us by his side every single day, and it's something that we love doing because we truly love the man to death. I mean, we really love our father and our whole family.
I want you to meet Cherie Murray. She's a mother from Queens who says she's currently undecided. She's got a question for Melania. Cherie?
Thank you. Mr. Trump, you have a beautiful family. I'm a mom as well. My daughter, Shyla, and I have two sons, Abel and Jace. I wanted to know, what do you love the most about being a mom, Melania? And also, are you guys interested in having more kids?
Well, it's amazing every day. Our son is 10 years old, and everything is different. Every day it's you know, something special, and it's unconditional love. And I enjoy every day. I love being mom. A very special time, and I'm at home and raising him, teaching him values and morals, and preparing him for adult life, because sooner or later he will have wings to fly. And I will be always there for him, but he will be very independent and ready to go.
Any more kids?
And we're not really thinking about more.
Ivanka, my mom has been pressuring me to actually have kids. What's being a mom meant to you? How has it changed you?
I think it's changed me in almost every capacity. I think it's made me a better person and a better wife. I think I'm much more empathetic once you start thinking about a bigger picture outside of yourself, which is, it's easy to be very self-centered when you're young and you're single, and obviously it started when I got married and I became a we, and then having kids brings it to a whole different level, putting them first, and they become very much the center of your universe. But
this seems exhausting.
It is, and it's exhausting, but it's really, it's the most amazing type of challenge that you really can't prepare yourself for, but is so unbelievably rewarding. So I feel so fortunate. I have 3 children now, under the age of 4.5, and it's exhausting, but it's the perfect kind of chaos.
I want you to meet Joseph Cohen. He's a student at Columbia University. He says he's undecided. He's got a question for Ivanka. Joseph?
First, I wanted to congratulate you on the birth of your son.
Thank you.
I was wondering how your father reacted to your decision to convert to Judaism. What led you to that decision, and how did he react?
Well, it's such a personal decision. I tend not to talk about it in a public forum, but my father was very supportive. He knows me, he knows, and he trusts my judgment. When I make decisions, I make them in a well-reasoned way. I don't rush into things, so I appreciate the support he gave me, because obviously these decisions are not taken lightly, and it would have been much more hard if I had had headwinds. But he believes in me. He loves my husband. They're incredibly close, which I think was obviously helpful, and he's been very supportive of me in that decision, as in many others that I've taken throughout the years. So.
Thanks for your question. This is Brittany Haller. She's a student at the Fashion Institute of Technology. She says she's undecided. She's got a question basically for all the kids.
Hi. So how intimidating was it to introduce your significant others initially to your father?
Well, I don't think that any of us necessarily got the shy gene. There's not a lot of shy in our family, so I think we're all pretty self-confident. So I think it made it relatively easy, but it was probably a unique experience for all of us. But he's been just incredible now, as always has been as a father, but even as a grandfather, because I have 5 kids of my own, and my wife is a stay-at-home mom, takes care of all 5 of them, and her job is a lot tougher than mine. It's hard, we have a pretty tough job, but it's amazing, and he's just so incredibly supportive of that as well. And just seeing him as a grandfather is, I wish something that people could see, because it is amazing, and it's a side of him you wouldn't see. It's not something we talk about all that often, but it's just incredible. And watching him with Kai on the golf course, or any other situation, it's it's pretty amazing. So, there may have been some intimidation initially, but he trusts us pretty well.
I remember spying on the lunch that my husband and my father had in Trump Tower.
How did you spy on it?
I was hiding around columns. Jared called. He came over. They went downstairs. They were having a beautiful lunch. There were tremendous amounts of hand gestures. I didn't know if this was good or bad, I was. Obviously, when you love somebody so much, you hope that the people in your lives that you love one another. So.
Do you remember that?
High stakes.
I do remember. I'm very happy with Jared. He's been fantastic. All of, Eric did so well, and Don did so well, and Tiffany's working on it, right? And Ivanka. We're so happy with the new members of the family, really. They've been fantastic.
It's got to be intimidating, though, Tiffany, bringing, or introducing somebody or even considering that.
My father trusts us and our opinions, and Melania spent multiple dinners with my boyfriend now, and I think in the end, we're independent people, and all he can do is just support us and, be a loving father and, really hope that we're taken care of as well.
And if it's not good, the older brothers will get involved.
Yeah, is that right? Okay.
No problem.
You're more intimidating than
enforcement.
Your father. Okay.
High school was rough for me in that regard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
There may have been a couple instances.
Is that right? Yeah.
One or two.
They're very protective.
Okay. This is Joseph Kovac. He's from Staten Island. He says he's undecided. He's leaning toward you, Mr. Trump. He's got a question for Donald Jr. Joseph?
Well, first of all, Mr. Trump, I respect you tremendously.
Thank you.
As a businessman, but more importantly, as a father. And you've swayed me tonight, first of all.
Oh, great. Good.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you
my
very
question for you, Don, is what have you learned as the greatest experience as a businessman from your father? And do you think that sometimes tone is important and you get more with honey than vinegar, so to speak?
Well, I think without question, and what's interesting throughout this process, everyone talks about that in tone, but there also comes a time where you actually have to put the hammer down, right? There comes a time where, being nice and trying to do all this stuff, when people are laughing at your face, you have to actually fight back. And, that's what's so important about what he does. And he's not just going to go every time there's a little change in the winds, he's going to flip. That's not what he does. He's going to fight for the American people. So, tone is important. And I've seen him do that for the 38 years I've been working in the company. Mm-hmm. I've seen him do deals with people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different everything, different personalities. And he's able to do that better than anyone. No one can be, more endearing, more, he wins everyone over with that when the time is right.
Sure.
But we're at a stage in our country where I think we all believe that, we really need some change. We need politicians who actually have real world experience, people who are actually going to work for the people. The biggest joke I see is all the politicians talking about how they're great public servants. They're serving themselves.
Sure.
He doesn't need this. At this stage in his life, he's done everything he needed to do, but he wants to give back to the country that's been so great to him, to the people who've been so loyal to him. It's given him so many opportunities, whether it be family, whether it be business. And, he wants to go through this brutal process to be able to give back. He's truly, it's incredibly selfless, and it's amazing to see. And I think it's resonating with the people.
Is there a business lesson in particular that sticks out?
Well, honestly, so much. He's not the guy that sits you down on his knee and says, this is how you do business. You learn by watching. You learn, the hard way oftentimes. He'll let you make the mistake and you'll pay for it. And he'll follow up on that.
So he gave you the
He'll give you the autonomy also. He'll let you run with it, even if he disagrees with you. You better be right, though, because if you're not, you'll hear about it forever.
Right.
Yeah.
This is Pax Hart. He's a software engineer who says he's leaning toward voting for you next Tuesday. His question is for Mr. Trump. Pax?
Hi. I just want to congratulate all of you for the success that you've had, and I'm definitely voting for you, Mr. Trump.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
it. We know you lost your older brother from alcoholism at age 43. I lost an older sister from alcoholism at age 37, and I know what it's a life-changing event, and you really have to take stock in your life.
Right.
My question is, how did you? We've seen so many, the children of so many wealthy people who have, they've ended up being a mess. How did you instill, with your kids? How did you protect them? How did you, instill a sense of, personal responsibility with them? And what advice would you give for parents whose children may be struggling with addiction?
Well, it's such an important question and a great question. I had a brother who was a fantastic guy. I talked about this to Anderson once because you had some difficulty.
Yeah, my brother killed himself.
Right, very similar nature. And my brother was this phenomenally handsome guy, great guy, just great in every way, the best personality, everything. But he started drinking, and it became a real problem for him. And he used to tell me, he was quite a bit older, he used to tell me, don't ever drink. And it'd say, don't smoke. And in those days, it wasn't the drug thing. It was really the alcohol thing, much more so. Today, you have to add the word drug. And he would really, he knew he had a problem, and he was one of my truly great teachers, my father and my brother. I say that all the time. My brother, because of this and other things, but he'd say, don't ever drink, don't ever drink. And I've never had a drink. I mean, I've never had a glass of alcohol, and yet I own the largest winery in the East Coast. It's a crazy thing, but that's okay. but my brother was so instrumental in probably shaping my life, because I just don't know what the outcome would have been. And when my children were growing up, even when they didn't even know what drinking was, I'd say, no alcohol, no cigarettes, no drugs. And I'd always say it. I used to add cigarettes because, I have friends that just can't kick it. But I'd say, no alcohol, no drugs, no cigarettes. And, I think it had an impact. And I have so many friends where their children have this problem, and it's a tough world out there to start off. But when you have that as an additional problem, the drugs or the alcohol, it's awfully tough to really do it. So I just tell the parents, if you can, keep your children away from the drugs and the alcohol, and it's going to make their life so much easier. And, you don't have that longing. I don't have any longing because I never drank, so I don't have a longing for drinking or for drugs or any of that stuff. And I have other problems, and we won't talk about them, okay? But the drugs and the alcohol, so important that your children just stay away from it.
Was that something you remember distinctly growing up?
Yeah, very much
Absolutely.
so. Very much so.
Every day of our life, every morning. Don't drink, don't do drugs.
Every morning?
Every morning
Every
before
morning.
school, without fail.
I mean, it was, as young children, it often was accompanied by one of us eye-rolling. But, I think in retrospect, as parents, we see how much that was an important message.
She used to say, Daddy, don't say that anymore. Don't say that. But I just felt it was important because I've seen so many brilliant young children of wonderful parents destroyed because they drank or they took drugs.
I want you to meet Diane Morgan. She's a teacher here in Manhattan who says she's supporting Governor Kasich. She's got a question for you, Mr. Trump.
Hello, Mr. Trump.
Hi.
Good evening. Thank you for answering my question. I'm a mom of 3 here in New York, Ethan, Jane, and Laura. And I'm wondering, what do you consider the 2 or 3 most important financial principles to teach your children or that you've taught your children?
Well, I've always said, and I make speeches on this, and they pay me a lot of money, and I give it to charities, and I'm so happy about it, and I love doing it, but I always say you have to love what you do. So important. You can never, ever give up. I've seen so many people where they have talent, and they're very smart, and I see it even in schools where I went to school. Some of the people that weren't really as smart as other people are much more successful now because they were just more driven and they never ever quit or gave up. And keep the momentum going. But you have to love what you do. If you're in a great business, real estate business has been a great business, but if my children like some other business that wasn't maybe as good a business, but they just loved it, I would absolutely tell them to pursue that because you'll never be happy. You have to love what you do.
I want to ask, just in closing, to each of the kids, and I hate to call you kids, but
take it at this.
It makes me feel younger. Is there something you have learned about your dad in the course of this campaign that you didn't know, or that you didn't know?
Listen, I think it's an amazing question because, we've seen so much, but, just the perseverance. That we always knew was there. That's always been there. But, going into something as a freshman politician and, being the star of the Super Bowl right now, it's pretty incredible. And I think it's not so much that I learned anything new. It just reinforced what I already knew about him as just being the hardest working guy I've ever seen. It's just the drive, the work ethic that we've seen our whole lives. It's just been reinforced at this stage in his life after everything that he's done to keep doing this and want to do this for the country. It's really amazing. It's really special.
I'd say passion. It's amazing. He came into this race with so much passion. He put everything into it. Kids, take on the company, go run the company, do what you guys have done so well. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do this for the country. And he put so much passion to it. And his whole career, I've seen him do that, whether it be building the greatest buildings in New York, building the best golf portfolio in the world, building one of the great hotel portfolios in the world, The Apprentice, now running for president. And it's really largely due to the passion. You just spoke about it, but it's the passion that makes him so successful at what he does.
I think he never gives up. He works harder and harder, and through this process I've learned that he's able to balance everything that he's doing on the campaign trail with his business and also taking care of us and being such an amazing father. And I think having, those 2 qualities and us receiving so much love from him, even when he's so busy, it's an amazing quality to have.
I think one of the things I've always been most inspired by in observing my father is the way that he really inspires others. The way at our company, at the Trump Organization, he will set a very aggressive, a very bold vision, and then really help people find it, help people both unearth their own potential and also work together to achieving the vision that he's charted for the company. And I think watching him on this platform also set an unbelievably bold vision, also really spearhead the conversation. And really, whether you agree with the platform or disagree with his policies on certain issues, the reality is he is guiding the conversation on both sides of the aisle. He's really setting the agenda, and he's really charting the course of what's been discussed for the past 10 months, and that's what leadership is. So it's been unbelievable for me to see the way he's inspired the tens of thousands of employees at the Trump Organization really transcend that, and now he's doing that across this country. And it's really remarkable.
Melania, is there something you've learned about him that you maybe didn't know?
Well, I knew, his drive, and I'm with him almost every day, and it's like I go through the good, bad, and the ugly stuff, and we're going through it, and he's strong, he's passionate, he's smart, he's tough, and he's handling fantastic, and because he's passionate about the country.
Mr. Trump, is there something you didn't know about yourself that you've learned in the race?
Well, I think something was reinforced tonight. I've known the most successful people in the world. Many of them are very unhappy people. Many of them but many are very unhappy people. And I've always said the most important thing is having a great family. The family is more important. And, to me, the most successful people have always been the people that seem to be the happiest are people with a great family. And, you can say I have a wonderful family, and it's been very important to me. I think it's been a real stabilizing factor. I don't think I would have had the kind of success I've had without my family.
Is business life tougher or political life?
Well, I think that political life is more dishonest. I mean, I find the people in politics to be far more dishonest than pretty dishonest business people. You want to know the truth. I deal with some pretty tough customers. I think the business people are tougher. I think the business people I know them all. We'll use some of these tough people to renegotiate our trade deals, folks. Believe me, I know the good ones, and I know the bad ones, and I know the overrated ones, and I know the ones that are the best of all that nobody ever heard of. But we will use the best. We don't use the best right now. But I will say this. I think the business people are tougher, but I think the politicians are more deceptive.
Final question. Do you really believe you're going to get to 1237, or in your heart, do you believe this is going to end up being an open convention?
I think I'll get to 1237. I think we're going to do very well in New York, and as I said before, some of the states around that we're going to be in next. I think we should do really well in California. I think we'll get to the 1237. Look, this has been an amazing process, and again, I said it at the beginning, but I'll say it again. I'm spending my own money, and I understand politicians. I understand what motivates them. The thing that motivates them are special interests and their lobbyists, and they won't do the right thing. The people that are really getting them are the people that give them money. And by my not taking money from all of these special interests, I'm going to be able to do the right thing for the people. They do so many bad deals, and people think, oh, why are they so stupid? They're not stupid. They're doing it because they're told to do it by the people that give them money. That's why, whether it's Ted Cruz or others, I will tell you, they're not going to do the right thing for the country. And it just is the way politics works. And nobody knows the system better than I do.
And though, how politics works. At the convention, if you don't make it in the first round of voting, a lot of those delegates who have to vote for you in the first round, they're free to go elsewhere.
I'm not an established...
Are you ready for that?
Sure, I'm ready for it. Look, my life would be a lot easier. I have some wonderful things. My life would be a lot easier. I just want to do something. The country, as my children have said, the country has been great to me. And I want to give back. And, if people want me to do that, I think I'll do a fantastic job for them, and we'll bring the country back, and we'll save Social Security, and we'll save Medicare. All this, our country's in such trouble. People don't realize what a trouble. We're sitting on a bubble. Our country's in tremendous trouble. So I think I do a really good job.
I want to thank Donald Trump and his entire family. Thank you all. Melania, thank you very much. Special thanks to the voters who asked such good questions tonight.